quite the little trip.
And their traveling companion, Jackie, is trying to get over pneumonia. So it's like just a couple weeks before they leave.
Oh.
So are we ready?
Yes.
All right. Say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll consider approval of the minutes for the last two meetings last week and the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
You got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the minutes from February 7th and March 1st and the agenda for today. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Did you have something right away, or?
No, I just figured I was
I
close.
suppose we could call Scott and it takes him a while to get here. We could start with.
Kind of what I was thinking.
Hi, Colleen. I'm sorry, I called the wrong number. Sorry. All right, I got it. You're sitting in front of me, so I called your number.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hi, Scott, we're ready for you. All right. So let's go on to auditor's office. We'll discuss drainage matters. What do you have?
Well, yesterday, Ethan came in and was talking about DD 53 Lat 2. Lahar was out there, and it looks like about 800 feet of tile need to be replaced, about $40,000. It's on the DNR land. The tree roots have completely blocked the tile.
So you said that's DD what?
53 Lat 2. It is right here. It's right east of Leland. We talked to TJ. Ethan was up, and we talked to TJ, and I told TJ, your tree roots are blocking the tile. You're going to pay the majority of this bill. And he said he did not have authority to approve that, and he would have to get with Des Moines and whatever. And he says, well, why wouldn't the district have to pay some? And I said, but that's not fair for them to pay it when your roots that you didn't take care of block the tile for those that are beyond you. If it were on your neighbor's land and it was their trees, I would be telling them that it was their deal. But this is, you guys need to be responsible for your trees.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to get with his people. We kind of decided that it should go ahead and get repaired. It is a repair. We have to fix it. And hopefully before we do any billing, we'll get to figure out how it's going to get paid.
Because in the past, like up by Thompson, they always had a contract that would come in and do it.
Yep. They bought the land from the NRCS. They should know where the tile is. It's their responsibility.
Yep.
So I hope you're in agreement with what I did.
No, that's good.
So would you say it was 800 feet of? 800 feet of, I don't even know what size. I guess I didn't ask.
12 inch.
12 inch.
12 inch.
So,
But that'll be repaired or replaced?
well, it's a repair because it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So
there's
it's
too many
bad.
holes in it from the tree roots and whatever that it has
So
to.
they'll put in
Should.
non-perforated then, or?
Yeah, it's not perforated, it's like sewer pipe.
It is non-perforated right now? Or
We're
will
gonna
be?
dig it up this afternoon and pop holes and figure out, try to get a more estimated precise dollar amount for them.
Yeah, because I'd like to know what part the district should pay for and what part the DNR should pay for.
But you're gonna replace it with non-perforated.
Correct, yes. It's like a sewer pipe, it's plastic.
And it's one of those that the NRCS did their project, but what did they actually put in? So it'll be kind of nice to see
Right.
what it is they used.
They should have documents for that.
They do, I remember meeting with,
Lynn Kluber.
Link Kluber last year, and he showed me like the plans, but I don't remember what it was that they put in there. They kind of rerouted it, but then the trees ended up just growing right over top of it again, so.
Well, we've set precedents for this before with like the Quaw Wildlife and all that, where,
And even conservation, Robert had to pay a bill.
and if it was
Trees.
causing them misery because someone else's tree was plugging it up, they wouldn't wanna pay for it either,
Right,
you know?
and I'm not trying to pick on the DNR or anything, it's just what we do, your
They should-
trees,
They should be used to it.
If it was a landowner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
if it was across the road on somebody else's, it would be their deal, so.
So I had another one too, DD1 lat 1, I believe it is. The one that goes by Ropers
Oh, yep,
and goes up to Jeff Mathis's field.
okay,
Last year we did some exploratory digging on that one, trying to figure out where the blockage was, but it was really wet back then. Everything really backed up in the spring when they were planting. Well, it was drier this year, but there were still just, this much water coming out of the end, but it was backed up at the intake, so he was gonna dig in from the intake down and try and, he's thinking at least 100 feet of 12-inch might have to be redone.
who's gonna do that repair?
That's Derek Giggy,
Oh, okay,
so. I'm guessing what happened is at some point in the past that the intake might have got knocked off, dirt washed in there, and it plugged the tile.
is he gonna get me an estimate, or do you think it'll be under 10,000, or,
So I was gonna talk to him this week again
okay,
after he got back to it. He
Okay.
just kind of started last Friday exploring.
okay.
100 foot of what?
100 foot at 12.
12, how many dollars a foot is 12 roughly?
And he's not
800 foot is 40 grand. Between 40 and 45.
It should be under 10,000.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just wanna
And we're
make
not
sure,
sure
if I
exactly.
need to send a information.
He's not
letter
sure
out.
on footage either. He was gonna explore and
Yeah.
find out.
Well, if it's just something I need to send an information letter to, let me know.
Oh, yeah. That's all I had for drainage. How about you? Anything else? All right,
All right, well, thanks.
we'll go back to roads. Scott Miners, engineer, will discuss secondary road matters.
Yep, I was just gonna remind you guys that we have a letting down at the DOT on March 19th for the other bridge project that we have planned for this summer, federal aid project. This one's on the north side of Newton, Section 3. And we'll know day after that day
Oh, yeah.
we got the bid, the parent low bid, and we'll have a contract for you a couple weeks later. And then the project that Rognus Brothers won here month and a half ago, they said it's too early to tell on schedule, so they're kind of waiting for more of their projects to be bid before they start slotting projects in a certain time frame. We pretty much give them the entire summer and fall, so on purpose, so that they have more flexibility.
Hopefully it's not the fall.
What's that?
Hopefully it's not in the fall or something.
Somebody has to be in the fall. So it could easily be us. I'll give you an update on schedule once I know any more. And maintenance,
Guys started spot blading yesterday. Didn't get much moisture yesterday, but a little bit, get some of the rumble strips knocked down. Looks like we get some moisture later this week too, so.
That would help. I know it did a pretty good job yesterday. I was by the Lander School house. They worked it up pretty good there,
Yeah,
just for that little strip he did.
yep, and then mechanics are getting a maintainer stripped down off the snow equipment and getting the roller and disc put onto that so we can start working on the shoulders. Doing some reclaiming there, so.
Are you stripping them all down or just a couple of them? Or?
Just that one right now.
You know, there's still too good odds
Yeah,
for an unfortunate snow event.
heard of other counties stripping them, their maintainers this week, but it's only the first week of March, so. I don't know.
Yeah, I can
It's a big
remember.
gamble.
The 2nd of May, we had 10 inches here, not that long ago.
Yep.
In with the lamb.
Well, yeah, no, it's, according to that saying, we should be a little nervous. Mother Nature has an evil way of averaging herself out sometimes.
You never know, out like a lion could be a tornado. Never know. They've already happened, so.
Yeah.
Anything
I
else?
guess one other thing I'll mention. Our newest mechanic, Andrew, has decided not to stay around the area, and so he'll be leaving this year. The last day will be in a week from Friday. So we'll be back to 2 mechanics.
So you'll start advertising then, or?
I think we'll wait until we have a definite retirement.
Okay. All right. Anything else? You guys have anything?
No.
Okay. I guess.
Yeah, I got one thing.
Fine.
Thank, that's what I was,
Fine.
yeah, for going out, taking care of that there.
Yeah. Looks like you did a good job cleaning it up, so the best you could anyway.
Yeah. My sister appreciates it.
I'll let them know.
So is that mostly just sod peeled and they got peeled back then?
Yeah.
Rolled back?
It's one of those, we didn't have a whole lot of real cold days, so the wings could dig a little bit easier this year.
Yeah, that was the first time he'd run that route, was it?
Yeah,
So, I mean, he had no idea when there's snow on the ground and you're moving along, it's not very easy to see,
yeah, you can't tell if it's a snowdrift or if it
yeah,
is the yard.
whether it's actually the yard going up. Unfortunately with this one, it's the yard going up.
Yep.
It's the least snow we've ever had, and I have more gravel in my yard than I've probably ever had, just for removing snow when it wasn't.
Right, it
You
never
know,
got locked down, it just stayed
Yep.
loose.
Well, I guess we'll move on to discussion of the fountain. We been forwarded emails on it.
Yes. I forgot to print mine out though.
Yeah, you too.
Grab it. Here it goes.
Can you print for them then?
Yes. I'll do that quick here.
Take it up and look small. So it sounds like we have a twin to this one up in Michigan.
Yeah.
A twin fountain?
Yes.
Looks just like this one. Same
Okay.
company, same statute.
Sold, same statute.
Online, I found one, what was it had on it? It wasn't, it's same fountain, but not the
I
same
think I did print it.
statute.
Made of the same stuff.
Came from the same company,
Ah,
Up in
yes.
Michigan, they have one exactly like this.
So, we have a quote to fix the fountain. They would have to come and get it. And the
Come
cost,
get the fountain?
yes.
And he's out of Ohio or something.
Mhm. The cost would probably be approximately 80 to 90,000. So what I'm suggesting for this project is that we team up with the Historical Society and ask them to help us fundraise to make this project a reality. And so I have not talked to them yet, but that's my plan for this week, is to talk to, or the next time they have a historical society meeting is to meet with them and discuss this with them.
What's the scope of repairs?
Let me just show you here, if I can,
The one they did up there, I think they actually did some recasting and they actually put new, like some of the goats or whatever, the faces, they replaced those, made new molded on the one that was left and then made new
so this
faces.
is the fountain that they did up in, I think it was Indiana. They had a fountain.
Oh.
It was worse shaped than ours, I think.
Yeah, they had actually had a fountain that was of iron all the way around it, so it was cool.
Yeah.
But they did ours is,
Do they have to come get the whole bowl?
well, they won't take our bowl
Our
because
bowl
ours
is
isn't
just concrete.
iron. But they'll take the pieces and then
Pedestal?
They'll start at the pedestal and on.
yep, they'll recast it, probably. Ours is getting to the point where, like, you can poke your finger through it. So we need to do something, either that or it's
The
just
metal on
gonna.
it's that thin,
What's that?
the metal is on it is that thin in places?
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad. So like, we just need to either, it's like the same with the building, we either need to let it go or fix it.
So they
So-
would
Well, the
take
building
the
is a little
statue.
more
Well,
urgent.
and that's why I'm saying,
This is just purely,
this is, yeah, so
Well,
that's why I'm
Could be a
suggesting,
safety issue at some point, though.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
well, no, yeah, but in this case, it's not that important to remodel it, shall we say. I mean, it's,
That's what I'm saying, it's a fundraising thing, not a budget thing.
yeah.
But if they do this project, they would take the statue out and the statue would probably set off to the side somewhere.
Yeah, we'd probably
Or
put it
maybe
down
back.
in the building down there.
Store in our office. We got room.
There you go.
We'll set it down in Scott's office. So then this is the finished product after it was done.
Are they gonna build a new bowl for it too?
I haven't got that far
I
yet.
think with their bowl, it's just the outer ring that's metal and then it is concrete on the inside.
Yeah,
So the statue of the man itself is okay?
ours is. They didn't even have a statue of a person
We did ours.
like 20 years ago.
Oh, no, I was thinking I was in office when we did it. I'm
No.
sure.
I don't think I was here.
No, it was before I was even in the courthouse.
Just
Oh, really?
get new paint.
It was like 25 years
It
ago.
got patched up too. I think there was some touch-up they had to do on it to kind of restore it, I'm sure.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Riley.
So all this 90,000 is basically just for the pedestal.
Uh-huh.
Which is the fountain.
And we'll
Yeah.
probably have to have somebody locally to help lift it off and set it for them to take.
So it's made of bronze, right? Is that what I read?
It is.
Some bronze. Some was cast, wasn't it? Was it all cast bronze or just some?
So they basically recast the whole thing.
Basically, I don't know. That's their job, not mine. Mine is to come up with $90,000.
Chemically patinated with heat.
Patinted. So it makes it look like it's not new.
I suppose.
Cast iron.
Patinated?
I thought I read in that
It's
there
a
was
zinc primer.
bronze
Yeah.
of some sort.
So to say, cast iron sure sounds like.
Well, the goat heads were
It's like
bronze
rust.
cast.
Oh, parts of it are, okay. I think it's a good idea I've always thought the Historical Society would be a good one to partner with that.
Entire properties are listed on the historical register. That gives them some avenues.
Mhm. The goat heads are bronze.
Yep.
That's why. Everything else is cast iron. And the soldier is zinc. So don't put this on the radio until I have a chance to talk to him.
About what? I'm thinking sports right now. I'm just sitting here, this he seems to be out of the office. Thanks very much. This is intriguing. I'm not gonna put anything on the radio, trust me.
After I talk to him, then you can have first dibs.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. I'll be anxiously waiting for your
So we
decision.
put it on the radio, if people wanna donate to the cause.
Yeah.
Well, you probably will get donations once we throw this up on the radio. I mean, we kid each other all the time that that's the number one tourist traffic stop in all of Winnebago County. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing people go for here.
We don't have enough nickels and dimes and quarters in the fountain to pay for it.
There's another fundraising
So the
idea.
swimming lessons we have out there don't pay for it.
I'm pretty sure those go in Kevin's pocket.
That's maintenance fee.
Yeah, that's the least he deserves for that.
Yeah.
And he still does it with a smile. Him and Rick. They do a great job.
Fighting off the wasps to do that job is a big challenge.
But I imagine if we're gonna do any redo of the, try to fix the concrete part of it, that'd be a time to do it then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that'll be another part of it we have to look at. Why don't you talk to Kevin about that and see?
Has the plumbing ever been updated?
We just redid some of the plumbing this last year because we had,
Seems like I can remember hearing something about it. but-
yeah, we had some pipes that were bad on the inside and we had, we just replaced the box out there. So,
One thing we talked about, it'd be nice to have a skimmer basket to catch the leaves.
mm-hmm. So we try to keep up on some of that, but it's not very user friendly.
So how long has that been there?
That whole setup, I don't know.
Was it put in when the courthouse was built?
Is that on the plaque out there?
Is that from
Yeah,
the
there's a
Daughters of the Revolution or
plaque out
whatever
there.
they were?
The courthouse was built like 1896 or something like that, was it?
Something. I don't know. There's a plaque out there for that too.
Yeah, I'll have to go read it. I've got a good memory, just
You need
doesn't
to
last
get it.
very long.
You need to do the tour.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I think the fountain itself was donated by that national group,
Mm-hmm.
either Daughters or women of the Revolution or something.
Yep.
I looked it up once. They're still active. We talked a year ago about going to them for money. They're a nonprofit. That might be something that Historical
worth-
Society could go after.
Look it up and see if there's any local chapters of it, or area chapters.
It's getting to be less and less of those kind of things
Yeah.
that are active anywhere.
Sure.
Well, I guess you know our direction on it then.
Okay.
Discuss quote from Midwest Waste LLC.
So I've been getting lots and lots of, I don't know if complaints is the word, but I suppose it is. People have been wanting, another site over in Buffalo Center, and I get calls, lots of calls, requesting another
Recycling center?
spot in Buffalo Center.
Did we budget for that? What did we put in our budget?
I doubt it. Let's see.
So it'd be people around Buffalo Center that would want it.
Yes, so I
Well,
get lots of
Buffalo have
people that are,
Did anybody say anything?
Hmm?
Nobody's ever said anything?
No, I've never heard anything.
Lately, all I've heard is good things about the recycling center and
I think the
Thompson,
most
but-
calls I've gotten are the people that probably eventually got curbside pickup from one company or another over this way.
I had a lady who called me who said that she called you and you never returned her call.
Oh, really?
Um, let's see. Chris?
So it must be rural Buffalo Center.
Yeah, very rural Buffalo Center.
Okay.
And I did say, so there are some people, like in Forest City, who do have waste management that they're paying for. And so she was complaining that, darn it,
Yeah, most of the calls that complain about the site is usually from the corners of the county.
yeah, that people in Forest City are getting, maybe he didn't get it to me. He said he was going to, but, anyway, he said he was gonna get it to me. I don't see where he got me the quote for today, but he was looking into getting another quote for another site. But I've been getting more and more calls about getting additional sites because Thompson is out of the way for them. They're, when they go to Forest City, they have to go up and down to Thompson or up and around to Thompson, and they usually go this way to Forest City, and so Thompson's out of the way, and they're frustrated with, they either wish they could get door to door. I also
Were they
talked,
happy with the door-to-door?
what's that?
Were they happy with the door-to-door?
Well, they would be if it showed up every week like it's
Yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah.
But
I also got requests if Chris could do the door to door. And I asked him about that, and he said, well, it's something that we could think about. He said, I
that's a fair
discussed that as well.
capital investment.
So, maybe I could table it today because I didn't hear back from Chris. Maybe he didn't
Yeah.
get the quote like he thought he was going to in time, so.
The people that have talked to me in the past about it, I just tell them this is what, we didn't put one in the center of the county because we thought that was gonna be the easiest thing for recycling. The recycling wasn't getting recycled, it was being taken to the landfill anyway, so this is what we had to do. The minimum we had to do to stay within the law.
Mhm. And I did tell her that.
Yeah.
And then she felt a little bit better about the situation. She was, she didn't understand that. And so when I explained that to her, that was,
It's just expensive garbage that was real profitable for waste management.
mhm.
I mean, and I don't get me wrong, I'm all for recycling. But if there's no market for it, then why do it?
So is her area serviced by Waste Management now, though? Not at all. So she doesn't have an option,
Right.
is the issue.
And so that's why we talked to Chris about maybe doing door to door, like, or that way to see if that would be an option and what
Sure.
he would charge for that.
Then you would have to get enough people signed up for that,
Mhm.
On-
Well, and it would be at those people's expense.
Yeah, it would
wouldn't
not
the
be a
county's
county
expense.
expense.
But maybe he can do it cheaper than Waste Management.
Mhm. Yeah. And that, she sounded like that would be, she would like that, so,
Probably before we look at it, maybe find out from him if he's willing to look into something like that.
he did say that he would be willing to look
Yeah.
at that. Because he says he does garbage in rural Buffalo Center, so that would just be an extra,
it's very reasonable on that, so compared to waste management.
All right, well, we'll just table it for now.
okay.
Is Elizabeth coming in here then?
Did you see her out there?
I haven't seen her.
I forgot to grab your books.
Do you think that statue was always painted, or was it a single color at one time?
Metal color, whatever color it is.
Maybe not, since it was zinc.
Yeah.
If it was
Usually something like that
bronze.
would be bronze or for copper possibly.
So is that Midwest waste what he calls
Yes.
some?
I get to sit by you?
Nobody else wants.
Thank you.
I noticed that he didn't say that. You slid the chair out for him and everything and he faced you.
Do you want one, Ethan?
Camera doesn't get you back here.
You guys have your day?
You're like me, you got a face for radio.
Yep, so
I know, I was thinking about that one last year, or
I have
last
some
week.
presents for you. Awesome. Thank you. Yep.
I'm not saying that you have a face for radio, I'm saying I do.
So, so before I announce Elizabeth's subject here, I want to clarify from our last subject. The Union Soldier was purchased by the Women's Relief Corps, WRC, in 1899.
Women's Relief
Corps. Unveiled in June 29th, 1900. Dedicated July 5th.
What year did you say?
1899.
Dedicated July 5th, 1900. All right, so now, 9:30 a.m., Elizabeth Dyer, Gardner and Company to discuss fiscal year 2023 audit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's kind of a boring report this year, which is probably what you want to hear. So,
Boring is good.
boring is good.
This, EMS,
You've had enough, but you don't need to deal with this too.
a
Okay.
lot of the law, the deputies and stuff, we just love it when it's boring.
All right, we're just gonna go through quick, and I guess if you have questions, just go ahead and let me know. We'll start at the independent auditor's report, which is on page 2. This goes ahead and gives the report on the audit of the financial statements. Just as a refresher, the purpose of an audit is to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented. An audit of this type has nothing to do with finding fraud or finding errors or irregularities. The audit is designed to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented. The audit is based on tests and samples. We don't look at every single transaction that goes through the county during the fiscal year. And then based on our test work, we go ahead and we issue an opinion. And for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2023, we have issued an unmodified opinion, which is what you want to hear. That means that we do believe that the financial statements contained in this annual report are fairly stated. So again, this independent auditor's report goes ahead and explains that, explains our responsibilities, explains your responsibilities for the financial statements, and just kind of goes ahead and walks you through all that. Starting on page 5, then, we have management's discussion and analysis, and this is a chance for the county to go ahead and provide some financial highlights and talk about the parts of this report. As always, the county does present 3 sets of financial statements. We have the full accrual, which is most like what you would see on the private sector, which includes all capital assets and long-term liabilities. We have a modified accrual, which is similar to what gets presented to the Department of Management for the gap report. And then because the county budgets on the cash basis, we also present a budget to actual cash basis. For this fiscal year, we did have one new governmental accounting standards board statement, number 96, subscription-based information technology arrangements that was implemented for this fiscal year. But you didn't have anything that met the reporting requirements, so we didn't have to do anything. We just have to disclose that the county did implement this for this fiscal year. So again, the following pages just go ahead and talk about the annual report, what's all contained. There are some comparative financials comparing fiscal 23 with fiscal 22. It also gives the county a chance to talk about your budget and what happened with that during the year, and also a chance for the county to talk about looking ahead and what was considered when you were looking at fiscal 24's budget. So then that leads us into the financial statements, which actually start on page 12. The first set that you have, Exhibit A and Exhibit B, are the full accrual financial statements, which include all the capital assets and the long-term liabilities, most similar to what you would see in the private sector. So we do go ahead and list that out. New this year, we're disclosing the opioid settlement receivable, which is presented on the face of these financial statements. And then also there is a fund balance that is restricted for that as well. Everything else is pretty similar. If you remember last year, we did have a net pension asset that has switched back to a liability for this fiscal year. So on page 14 and 15 then, this is the statement of activities, which is like your income statement. And for this fiscal year, the county did see a change in net position of a positive $4,541,144 as presented on page 15. Quite a bit of that is due to the farm to market account down at the state where you're getting that infrastructure. There was a little over $2 million that went through that for this fiscal year. Also with the building of the new nature center, there's been quite a few donations and, funding that is headed that way too. So that was a little over $1 million that was recognized during this fiscal year that's going towards that. So then you go to Exhibit C. This is the modified accrual financial statements, Exhibit C and Exhibit E. And then Exhibits D and E show the reconciliation on how you get from the modified accrual to the full accrual. So that just kind of steps you through how all of that works. Once we get to page 27, 27 shows your proprietary fund, which is your employee group health insurance. So again, we present a balance sheet, an income statement, and a statement of cash flows for that. Not too much exciting going on with that right now. Exhibit J and K are the statements of fiduciary net position and changes in net position for your custodial funds. So that is your schools, your township, your assessor, the funds that the county acts as the fiduciary agent for. So that goes ahead and presents where they were at June 30 and what the activity was for the fiscal year. So then starting on page 32, we have the notes to financial statements, and I'm going to skip over all of those unless you have a specific question. It just goes ahead and it's a lot of accounting vocabulary explaining those terminology. It talks about the pension plan. There's several pages of actuarial information that the actuary uses to calculate what that net pension liability is. We give your amortization schedules for your debt. There's a note about your insurance and your employee health insurance. The next stop then is on page 61. And on page 61 is our budgetary comparison schedule of receipts, disbursements, and changes in balances, budget to actual. So here we're presenting the cash receipts and cash disbursements for all of your budgetary funds for the fiscal year. The column that's titled less funds not required to be budgeted is your drainage. So we pull that out of there because that is not a budgetary fund to get to your net. And then we also present the original budget and then the final amended budgeted amounts. And then we go ahead and do analytical procedures to look at the variances there. And some of the variances are a little bit significant, but all of them are able to be explained during the course of audit fieldwork. So there weren't any red flags that were raised with this. So then the following pages are some additional required supplementary information that go ahead and explain the budget process. There's also several pages of required supplementary information for the IFRS, the net pension liability reporting. There's a couple 10-year schedules in there. When we get to page 72 then, we have the combining financial statements where all of the smaller governmental funds are aggregated to be presented at the front. This is their chance to have their activity displayed, so you can go ahead and see what each fund did during the fiscal year, the balance sheet, and also the statement of changes. That would be Schedules 1 and Schedule 2. And then Schedules 3 and Schedules 4, that is your custodial funds where the county's acting in a fiduciary capacity for those funds. So there's a balance sheet and a statement of changes for those. Schedule 5 is just a 10-year comparison for the governmental funds of revenues, expenditures, so you can go ahead and use that for analytical procedures and see the trends. So then that gets us to page 82, which is another page of Gardner and Company letterhead. And this is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. In addition to opining on whether or not we believe the financial statements are fairly presented, we do some Code of Iowa compliance test work and also some internal control testing to make sure there's good segregation of duties and whatever. And again, this is based on tests and samples. We don't look at every single transaction that might have had an impact on the comments. And then we go ahead and we report the findings based on our test work. So this letter just goes ahead and explains all of that. And that leads us into the schedule of findings then that starts on page 84. The first finding is segregation of duties, which is in every single audit report that we issue. Due to the size of your offices, it's not going to be possible to entirely segregate duties. So it's possible that one person could handle a transaction from inception to completion. But the departments are doing what they can to keep duties as segregated as possible. It's just something we need to keep talking about and make sure that everything is being segregated as much as possible, that employees are being cross-trained so that if somebody is gone on vacation, that those jobs are still being done while they're gone. The second finding is the preparation of full disclosure financial statements. Because we assist with the preparation of the GAAP report and also the full accrual financial statements, I'm required to go ahead and put this finding in. And again, this finding is probably in 98% of the reports that we issue. The ones that don't have this finding are the ones that have a CPA on staff that actually prepared this book. So again, pretty common. The third finding is on financial reporting. During the course of the audit, we did find a couple items that needed to be adjusted because of the materiality requirements. And so we did propose adjusting journal entries for those items. The entries were made, and so everything has been properly included in both the GAAP report and the financial statements contained in this book. And one of the big things for this was the deferred inflows related to the opioid settlement. That's going to be received over the next 16 or 17 years. So, making sure that that's being tracked. And it's different. They provided documentation on what the county should expect for the different pieces of that opioid settlement. Now, we've seen the payments have been greater than what the schedule says they're supposed to be. So they're paying some interest with that. And I think they're also going to attempt to pay it down a little quicker than what they had anticipated. So, just make sure that we're tracking that and know where we're at with all of those settlements coming in. So
have you heard anything about the city is talking about taking over mental health and public health and all that stuff? And then I heard that they were going to take all the old opioid and tobacco money with them.
I haven't heard anything about that, but we're a year behind with the audit stuff. We're auditing what happened, so we don't really get a lot of guidance about what's coming on until the spring. So, just I've heard rumbles, in the counties that we've been visiting that there's been discussions about that, but nothing, no authoritative guidance or this is what we're going to do or anything like that as of now. Okay, so then we get into the required statutory reporting. The certified budget this year, the appropriation in July was overlooked. And so the original budget has to be appropriated by resolution. Some counties will do it the last meeting in June, some will do it the first meeting in July. But the code requires the budget to be appropriated by resolution before any disbursements are made. That didn't happen for fiscal '23, and so we didn't have any appropriations in place then until that first budget amendment hit. So that caused all the departments to be over expended on their appropriations. So just need to make sure that that first budget appropriation is happening. The second one we have is about questionable expenditures, and during the course of our test work, we found a Visa charge for pizza for a meeting. And again, might not necessarily meet the requirements for public purpose, so it's disclosed in this book. Again, we don't look at every single transaction that goes through the county, so there may be other questionable disbursements out there. This is just what we discovered during our test work. On page 87, we talk about related party transactions. The Code of Iowa sets the threshold at $6,000 for potential conflict of interest. We just have the one that we're disclosing, and it's well below that $6,000 threshold. So this is just a transparency disclosure. There isn't any finding associated with it. And then the last finding that we have is on page 88. The Environmental Education Center Capital Projects Fund had a deficit balance at the end of the year. That's not unusual for capital projects, just because, you know, the funding doesn't always get credited to match up with when the bills are being paid. So again, that's not an unusual situation, just something to keep an eye on. So, and that also takes into effect the accrual. So, you know, if they're paying July, you know, if they are looking at July and August to be paying bills that were incurred in June, just making sure that they're crediting the donations and the grant receipts to hopefully match up with those payments as well. So that's all we had for things that were in the report. As far as non-report findings, there were a couple things that I did want to talk over with you. And I'll leave a copy of this letter so that you'll have that as well. The big thing, well, two big things. With the Iowa County Ledger in your Tyler system, when that rolled over from fiscal 22 to fiscal 23, we had one fund that didn't match. So there was a transaction that posted between the two, and it was in the motor vehicle side of things. So there was something hanging out there, or someone went and, you know, posted an entry or transaction. So the beginning numbers for fiscal 23 did not match the ending numbers for fiscal 22 for that. So it's really important that once the month is closed, once the year is closed, that nobody's posting back into those months that are done. Because that's most likely what's happened in other Tyler counties that we've had. That's what's happened, is that an adjusting journal entry has gotten posted back. Well, when the treasurer balances on the last day of the month or the last day of the year, you know, that's it, that's your number. So that's more than likely what happened. Or, you know, it's also possible that there was a transaction kind of hanging out there as a reconciling item, and it was a discrepancy between what got posted on the cash balancing side versus the financial reporting side. So, you know, just as you're going to the next month or going to the next year, just making sure that those numbers are matching up and that everything's rolled over properly, because we know that's been a Tyler issue. The other big thing is the assessor here has decided to maintain documentation for all of their claims. It doesn't go through the board. You know, they provide Carla with a list. They provide you with a list of claims that need to be paid, and you don't see any documentation. The state auditor's office has identified that as a risk. So when we were here to do the audit for this year, because the documentation is not looked at by anyone else, we went ahead and we did some more extensive testing on the assessor's disbursements. Since nobody else is seeing those, nobody's reviewing them before they get paid besides the assessor. So, and we expect that documentation to be maintained as if it was in the auditor's office. You know, we expect the claims to be stamped paid, just like they are in the auditor's office. You know, we expect them to be, you know, neat and organized and filed just like they are in the auditor's office. And we did note during test work that not all the claims and invoices that had been selected for payment or for testing were marked paid. So, you know, we discussed that with the assessor's office, so that if they do choose to maintain that documentation, then they're expected to keep it at the same standards as the auditor's office. So, so hopefully moving forward, you know, we will And we will continue to test that because it is a risk, you know, it's a riskier area when nobody else is looking at those claims besides, you know, the assessor. So it not only protects the county, but it protects her as well, so. That's what we will do moving forward.
All right.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
So part of, part of your duties when you do this and you find non-reported findings, you discuss that always with that supervisor or
For the most
whomever it
part.
is.
This year, we kind of had some extenuating staff circumstances where we had one member of our staff that had a family medical emergency. And so we were kind of, and he was gone for, well, he just came back. He's been gone for about 6 weeks. So, yeah, that's the general rule is that, you know, whoever is doing that test work on my staff will discuss that with the respective elected official or department head at the time of audit test work. So, like I said, this year we might have had a couple slip through the cracks because again, we had extenuating circumstances, so.
That's your normal procedure.
It is, yep. Whoever in my staff is working on it, will discuss it with that person and then, and get their, you know, response feedback. A lot of times it's something that can be resolved in a discussion and it doesn't even get to the finding level, so.
Unless there's some kind of corruption, it's usually just some kind of an innocent,
Mistakes happen.
either
And-
mistake or misreporting something.
But then, you know, too, with it, it depends on the dollar amount, like, you know, with the opioid settlement, that's, you know, a couple $100,000, so, you know, that's material to the financial statements, and so because an adjusted journal entry had to be made that was over the materiality threshold, you know, we don't have a choice, we have to report that. Same with a lot of the Code of Iowa compliance things, you know, like with the appropriations resolutions, you know, that is statutory, that, you know, you have to do that, so you either did it or you didn't, and so if you did it, you know, you're gonna be okay, if you didn't, we're gonna have to put it in the report. But there's a lot of these other things, like, you know, marking with the assessor, not necessarily marking all the invoices and claims paid, you know, that doesn't have a material effect on the financial statements. It's an internal control issue, but again, I think we pulled maybe 20 of her disbursements and maybe 3 or 4 of them hadn't been stamped paid. So, you know, it's something that we can discuss and say, hey, you need to be doing this moving forward. Now, next year when we come back to do the audit, it'll be something that we'll be a little harsher about because you've had the finding, you know, we expect you to be able to follow through with that and correct those issues.
All right. Well, I didn't see anything I needed to answer the question. The only thing I saw was like looking at the combining balance sheet, like the emergency medical services. We only collected 454,996 compared to the target of 478. Is that just because people didn't pay their taxes, or?
Could be.
It was our first year of doing this, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, there could be several reasons. They're not paying taxes, there could be, that's a big one that I can think of off the top of my head, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. All right. Well, do you guys have anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else?
The only other thing that really came to my head is the assessor's office and the payroll, because nobody else looked at that either. And that's gonna be the same thing with the claims.
Yeah, and, you know, that's gonna be something, you know, the conference board addresses too, because the conference board is the governing board for that assessor's office. And they are a separate entity from the county, but, you know, they are part of the county too, so it's kind of a gray area there. You know, I guess our firm policy and, you know, with the state auditor's office, the guidance that we've always gotten from the state auditor's office is that payroll is a claim on the county. So, you know, that's why, you know, when people ask me about timesheets, I say everybody should be doing one because you're making a claim on the county for payment for your time. So it shouldn't be any different than a vendor that has a claim on the county. So I like to have that timesheet for the documentation for the hours that are being paid. You know, with the assessor's office, it shouldn't be any different, you know, with the timesheets. I guess personally, I would like to have that double check. You know, when the auditor's office is entering that time in, you know, you're double checking because mistakes happen, errors happen, and, you know, you've got somebody assuming the liability if there's a mistake there where, you know, the other departments are all having their timesheets go through the auditor's office and that double check process. So, but again, you know, that's gonna be something the conference board addresses because they're the governing board for the assessor's office. So.
So I just had a question, just because I'm curious, when we talked about the opioid funds,
Mhm.
you said that there's discussion that it may be paid off early?
The amounts that have
The
been
payment.
paid
Mhm.
are greater than the amounts that were on the original schedules that had been provided by the state auditor's office.
Okay, and you think that involves interest?
Good, yeah, we can't
Oh.
really get a good answer on why the payments were different or higher than what this and again, it was a projected schedule, so,
But consistently across all of the pay recipients, it was all higher.
yeah, all the counties that we have dealt with have received higher than what they are, you know, what the projected schedule. Now, again, that projected schedule might have been updated and the state might not have passed that information along. But I would think, you know, the county would have received information if they had adjusted that schedule.
Interesting.
Would it have anything to do with rising interest rates?
They could, because a lot of the treasurer's offices have seen, wonderful, wonderful increases in the interest, you know, especially with a lot of the IPATE. You know, IPATE has been doing very, very well, and a lot of our counties have been taking advantage of that, and they've just been having huge dollars of interest that they've been collecting, so, which has been very helpful considering some of the budget constraints that
For sure.
are facing the counties right now too.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to seeing you next year too.
Yeah. It's always impressive you've got your speech memorized.
It changes a little bit from year to year though,
But not
so,
much.
not much, but
Yeah.
you gotta throw in a couple new things every once in a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you,
Thank you.
Hey Elizabeth,
Yeah.
there's something that Chris needs to ask you about, and I don't remember what it is right now, but there's something that I needed to talk to you about that I don't know what it is. Thank you.
I'll stop in and visit her.
Okay.
All right, discussion with possible action, control access quote. Can we do that one?
We didn't approve it last week, and I don't think Bobby's here, is he?
I haven't seen it.
oh,
We have to, for a while.
yeah, we
Yeah.
delayed it to this week because we needed to talk to him, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we had questions for him, you're right.
And were we gonna talk to, maybe Kevin is available.
And we were wondering about the scope of the work.
What I did talk to him about is if, like at the courthouse, if we had,
Access.
yeah, if we had like front door access and this access, and you have like a, hey, do you have a second to come to the
The
courtroom?
cameras and stuff too.
Boardroom.
Oh, okay, no hurry. Okay. Perfect. Yep, bye. So like we have a keypad that shuts off the alarm at just one door.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want access at all those doors because you shut off one at one door and then you accidentally turn it back on at the other door and, you know, so you just want everything at the one door.
The punch code at one door.
Yeah,
So the discussion was, do we only need one
To the north door
to the north door
yeah.
at public health.
at Public Health?
And I think Julie's maybe, is Julie in?
Julie, are you there?
So
Yes, ma'am.
did we get a quote on just the one access we reconfiguring then?
I don't think so.
So we probably need to get that, if we can get an exact quote on what the pared back
Yeah.
portion of it would be.
So have you heard our conversation a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about that?
It's whatever you guys want. You know how I love talking about doors.
Well, I know, it's,
I thought we had this already all figured out. I thought we were only having one access code, but we were having fobs. So are those two different things?
I think they're two different,
The,
well,
the punch code is for disabling the alarm, right?
right,
So if you used a fob at the south door, you could set off the alarm, right?
right,
After hours.
yeah,
So everybody'd have to be instructed, if they wanna come in after hours, they're gonna have to come in the north door.
one door.
Okay, gotcha.
So is it worth having a fob at the other doors if you can't go in anyway?
I think that's what Brody was trying to say.
So we'd have one.
Okay, so I got what you're saying.
So, yeah,
Um,
I mean, if you have one for, Mary Lou, she's gonna have to come through
One door.
one door anyway and go all the way through.
Mhm.
Has anybody talked to her about it?
But we're gonna have more offices there now too. I mean, we're gonna have the early childhood and people going in and needing to get supplies.
Well, it's just like here, I mean, it'd be closer for me to go in this door, but when I,
Yeah.
go all the way through the courthouse to get to my office,
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm saying. You know, I don't think it's a hardship.
no.
Walking's good for you anyway.
I've been trying to get a wellness program going for the 14 years I've been here, and I have not accomplished it yet. So if this is the way I have to do it, this is the way I have to do it.
So I think we're at the point we all agree we should probably just have one fob entrance and one with the punch code for the, control of the alarm. So then all the other locks will just have a key. Will they have a key then? Just a turnkey type thing that could set off an alarm?
That's the thing, you're gonna have that set off no matter what, aren't you?
Yeah.
After
Uh-huh.
hours.
Well, like this door, nobody has a key to it. It's just one of those doors that if you're in the building, you can push to get
There's no
out.
key from the outside?
Right.
Okay, so it'd be like that. But there's a turn button on the inside that unlocks it and locks it
Yep,
when you open up.
Yep.
And close.
yep.
So if one didn't get locked and you activated the alarm, does it set the alarm off that there's still a door not open?
If somebody, like if this door didn't get locked at night and somebody came in at midnight, it would set off the alarm.
But if you activate the alarm at 5 o'clock, say, does it tell you that that door is not, just that if somebody came through it?
Right.
Okay.
So if somebody goes out after hours, it will,
Not if somebody goes out, if somebody, after the alarms are started or set, if somebody comes in that door, it would trigger it.
But not if you go out.
Go out at it, but too, because the alarms
Well,
are
if
still
you
on.
go out,
Yeah.
but it would go off way before that because it'll,
Well, I'm just saying,
The motion
somebody,
alarms would-
somebody was still in the building and everything got locked up and then they left through that door, then it would, in theory, trip that alarm, I would think.
no, because there's not an alarm on it. It's the motion sensors that would trip.
Yeah. You just have to do a whiteboard like what we do here,
Yeah,
because when the last one's up, it's got to set the alarm to leave.
yeah, we have if you go down to that door, you can see how we
Sign in.
sign in and out.
Well, I think we need to get the number on that before we can approve anything. What that's gonna cost instead. So can we table this till next week to
Yep.
get that number?
Mm-hmm.
Open forum.
Here's the claims.
Consider for approval county claims.
I had one question on it, I think it was under the sheriff's department.
For 69,900,
That's Cinex or whatever, I can't remember the.
That's the computer, they're 3-year, per sector for our laptops, computers, card cameras, cloud-based storage,
That's a lease of software and computers.
installation.
That's a
and-
3-year?
Yeah, because we did the 3-year, remember we did that resolution and we had it, we did the 3-year because there was no interest then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was gonna cost us.
I feel like that was.
The first payments, they were put in October and this is actually the first payment we've made because they finally got us the paperwork. The next payment's due July of '24 and then the following year, July of '25, and then it's done.
And they're on the same payment?
Yes, that'll be the same.
His first payment should have been made
Should have been.
sooner than that, so
Right,
last
they're
July.
finally getting it to
Yeah.
us. They were installed in October. We finally got it all
Alright.
situated after, yeah.
And you're here because you knew we'd
I
question
knew
it?
you'd question it. Yep.
Yeah, no, I did.
Yep.
Good, glad you're here.
Well, we discussed it earlier too in the budget.
Yep,
I was just gonna make sure which,
and that's room and board that comes out of, so.
hands full with a second from Smith to approve the county claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
So that'll be reoccurring payment,
Just for 3 payments.
there's three payments, and then we have to start over again.
It's 5-year cloud-based storage, and then after 5 years, then they'll renegotiate it. Everything's still working good, we can go longer than that. They've got, like, we started having problems with their old computers about 4 years, we started having issues, same with cameras. But we'll see. how
So
these turn out.
will we be making payments the 4th and 5th year?
No.
Okay.
No. That's why we did this, because it was interest-free
All right.
repayments.
So I'm assuming you're here
Well-
for the,
Plus, we get new body cameras after 3 years automatically, they give us 3 ones,
okay.
so.
So we're gonna go back to the fountain.
No, this is,
Oh.
he's for the action control access quote.
Oh, the action control. Okay. All right. So what do you know about it?
Well, what?
The fobs and the alarm, can we get a quote on just the one access and control on the north door?
So I know very little about what's going on down there.
They I think they did it for 3 doors or whatever, but we don't want it on 3 doors, we want it just on the north door.
Okay. Is that the quote, is Hawkeye? I think Brody might have
Yeah,
Yeah.
lined up with that.
He's not here, so we were just,
yeah, but he wasn't here last week either.
But I'm not sure, I don't have a lot of information
Okay.
from him
Alright.
about that, because
We've just come to the conclusion it's better just to have the one access.
everybody
But
in and out of that.
I don't know, did that include
Yeah, for
cameras on
hours.
that system too? Are we gonna need cameras at other doors or?
yeah, I think that was the conversation. They still wanted cameras on all the doors. There's only 3 doors, right?
Oh, there's 4.
Where's the 4th door?
Well, you got 2 new doors and 2 old
Two
doors.
existing doors.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do want some cameras.
So what are we how many cameras are you talking about? In
I
hall?
can't remember how many Brody said. All I can remember is the one going down the long hallway, going out the north door. You see someone coming in that door. There's gonna be one there. And then one, looking out the new door. And then I know,
So looking out the new door will cover 2 doors.
correct. And then, Mary Beth wanted, or not, Mary Lou wanted one.
Okay.
She does not have a camera.
So whether that's inside or outside.
Well, and I think the cameras are completely separate.
Are they?
from- Yeah.
We'd
Yeah, I think the cameras are separate, he said. We have one here that just does our front door, and down the halls, and that was separate, he said.
Yeah, cameras are separate.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what we're gonna have to get together. Basically for access control, it's just gonna be the one fob and punch code that we have to figure out. And system. So,
There's no code for that, is there? I mean, is
Yeah, we
Every-
have a
every,
punch code.
no, a code that says in a public building like that what we have to have.
Oh, no.
No.
all right, well, you wanna get
I'll
with
talk to
Brody?
Brody. I'll see if I can get a hold of him in the next couple of days
All
and,
right, see if we can get it finished.
yeah.
All right, number 10, discuss GO possible debt schedule and timeline. Sue, did you have something you wanted to?
I just wanted to give you a couple things.
Okay, is that under open forum then?
Yes, that's what I think I missed it.
Okay, yeah, let's go back to open forum quick and,
I totally respect and I've talked to, Elizabeth about how the bills have been done. They've been that way since I've worked in the office. Some think it's wrong. Like she said, the gray area, some things it's okay. I don't feel like we've been doing anything inappropriate. I just think that it's, possibility that, like she said, to cover me, we should change it to be a different way. Which, currently what's happening is we give them a sheet that says what fund number it needs to come out of. We have the amount, what it's for, and then it comes up to you guys and it gets stamped. What we don't do, and haven't been doing, I guess, is giving them the actual invoices.
Right.
And we've marked, I'm wondering, I don't know, we're gonna look back on those ones that Elizabeth contacted. It might have been at the very beginning of my new help hire. It might have been, I can't explain that myself, but we do stamp those. I also talked to Elizabeth about a few other things. Here is something that explains, just as far as the auditor's office, from the attorney, and it goes back into court cases and some different things like that as well. And I haven't ever tried to hide anything, and that's not my point. If possible, I think it would be nice if Carla and I can talk about stuff. I know that there was some friction prior to me being in here, kind of with some stuff, and possibly Carla and I can work together and make this run smooth. One thing I had asked, and I mentioned it to the conference board at one time too, was to have our warrants not published in the minutes, just because of the fact that it says approved by, and in here you'll find that it says too that the conference board is the one that approves them. So since they're already approved, they don't necessarily have to be done then, but they still have been in the minutes. So just Carl and I will talk, and if you have any additional questions for me, please do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
No. I'm wondering if it's
It's hard for me to take her claims out just because they all come in a list and it's,
It's a blind thing.
yeah, it's not easy to. I do take her in the newspaper publication at the end of the year. I do take her salaries out because she requests that. So every other employee gets their salaries published on January 1st, and the assessor's office does not get their salaries published because she requests to take her salaries out. So I do make some exceptions for her office that are different than everybody else's.
And that would be under the control.
She requests that they're not in there, and
That's up to the conference board to decide.
well, I've never heard yes or no from the conference board. She's the
Never
one
been
who,
asked.
she's the one who's told me. So I think the conference board does need to tell me yes or no if that happens.
Let's make sure that's on their agenda when,
Well, and I'm not the one who does that either.
no, I know, but
So-
we'll request it and.
so. I never knew that.
Should be.
Look it up, it's just not in the paper.
Right.
All right. Now we'll go back to number 10, discuss GO possible debt schedule and timeline. Thank you for putting this together, Maggie.
Do we have a printout of that?
Oh, I printed mine, I guess. So you want a copy?
Well, I'd like a
I
copy.
can go make a copy quick.
Okay, so say,
Do you need one too?
I didn't file the, reimbursement or
I guess I just assumed it would be in the box, but
five receipts when they're responsible. Each one of those have to be stamped, even though it's on one, and the 24, whatever.
I looked it over.
We've never. I guess right now, I guess, it's just, it's hard to look at it in that manner. We have the staff that we do, I mean, I can understand it totally, and it really counts as well. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Carl.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I have,
So in the cost of issuance, I imagine none of that includes bond counsel? Or is that in there? Oh, it is, that's the first one.
Yep.
I was gonna say, there was,
Yeah. That was a little too low.
If we didn't have to do a rating agency again, I wouldn't mind not doing that.
But I think,
that cuts out $50,000 out of the expense too.
No, 20.
Oh, no, 20.
well, if we're gonna do that way, then we have to have a serious discussion with the treasurer on when funds would be available for,
Yeah.
I'm guessing she's got at least one of those probably tied up for another year. I'll have to find that out. So within this TIF district, our availability versus what our projects are. So yeah, the one page like this shows just with the TIF district. The other one shows if we do ETV. levy on debt, correct?
Yeah, on the, yeah, the first page shows if we just use the TIF. The second page shows if we use extra general obligation bonds.
So with just the TIF, we have an availability of $7,000,000. Or no, principal,
Six million,
150,
150.
just for principal.
Yep.
That's on the existing TIF, right?
But the second page goes to 7.5 million for more projects, but it's a debt levy for 5 years or 6 years after the TIF ends, correct?
Yeah, it goes to 34.
I hate to do that debt levy like that. I'm more inclined to rather TIF the ones we've got up in the northwest before we would do a debt levy. You know, capitalize on those ones we haven't TIFed. They still have a few years left on them.
Well, I've already got 34 cents worth of debt for,
Right,
for the jail.
and that's gonna continue, right? So, I don't wanna put any more debt levy on.
This tip is based on the Crystal Lake
The two down
2
here.
and 3
Yeah,
wind
I
farms,
suppose there's 3 of them there.
and they're increasing because of the repower.
We just have the excess.
Yeah,
Those, the ones I'm talking about to TIF would be the ones up by Rake, Buffalo.
Sure, but you're saying this 6 million or whatever
6.15 million.
would come from not those, but
The excess here that we're not capitalizing on,
okay.
the current one, the UR2.
Mm-hmm. UR2 and the
Because
UR2A.
we didn't borrow anything, this year, so it's like, it hurt us on budget.
Okay. Okay. I'd assume that they were set up to generate just enough to pay off.
Right, if we don't
25
do
million.
anything more at this point, there's enough that'll come in that so we won't get, we'll get revenue on them this year. We'll get 1.8 million. And then we won't get any more revenue for them at all. And it'll be enough to pay off the debt that we currently have. If we borrow more, we can continue to get revenue from them and
The 100% of the revenue,
For another 3 years,
for another 3 years.
because then it ends.
and then it's history, it's gone.
Mhm.
So that's what the 6.15 is all about.
Okay. Is that 2028 because that's 20 years after they're
Yep.
put up?
20, there's no more revenue
If
to be
I
had.
recall, if we just do the minimal, just for the payments, it probably will hurt us on budget too.
Right, because
It's a ding on us for budget, because it takes some of the TIF is taken off the top for valuations. So, then our budgets are limited if we have more valuations. That's part of 718, House File 718.
So your suggestion with doing the,
If we're trying to do the 7.5 million instead of doing debt for 6 years, which we were already doing, I'd rather
we'd be
Put it
better.
on those turbines rather than on the taxpayers.
Which in a sense, puts it on the turbines, but if we didn't put it on the turbines, the money coming in from them turbines would go towards the taxpayers in a sense.
Through the school, you mean, on part of it.
Well, it's, when we TIF it, we take it,
Take it from the townships and then
townships and the schools.
schools.
Yeah. Something like
Does the timeline, doesn't even work though, to
Because
tip those?
Because they, okay, so you had a 0 valuation to start with, then you had 5% of valuation, then you had 10%, I think we're at the 10%, I'm not sure, we gotta look at that. Then it'll be up to 30%, we can capitalize on the remaining 20% valuation. Or there, I don't know which year we're in, but it's like.
What I mean is for timeline for projects.
Well, this could be 10 to 20 years that we could do, depending on what you're comfortable doing. I mean, we could make it a shorter one, I'm guessing, if we're concerned about the other entities, we could shorten it. If we, we'd have to see what the revenue availability on those would be. There aren't that many of them. It's not as big as this other farm over here.
It's like 22 of them, is it?
Good guess.
Or 24, something like that.
If we captured, say, 30,000 apiece, so you're talking 750,000 a year. Maybe. I don't know if they ended up with that taxation or not.
23, Bill,
23?
yeah. And, Crystal Lake 1 and 2. Well, all the 3 were 134 turbines.
11, and the other two then.
Well, 134
Is the total.
is the total of the older turbines.
Oh,
The Winnebago wind, which is like 10 south of
so
Thompson.
all of the next arrow ones.
Yeah, and the Winnebago wind farm, I don't know what kind those are. Those are the old ones south of Thompson.
I think they're all owned by Next Arrow or wherever it is.
I think there's 10 in there that are still owned by a different company. They're the ones that haven't gotten any new parts or anything.
So I think they were originally Florida Light and Power, and they're actually part of the Nexair company.
I thought there were 10 and there were 88.
Yeah, probably. But there's 2 fields over there. There's Crystal Lake 1 and Crystal Lake 2, but then there's the 10.
Oh,
And I think they own all of them.
okay.
10, 80, and 44 were the 3 projects.
Okay, that,
And then Golden Plates was another 23.
okay.
So I just remember in the original discussions, they were talking maybe $32,000 of tax revenue a year on a turbine. And if we take, that times 20 of them or something, 22 of them.
23.
Yeah. I'm just trying to estimate. So we're at 64. Yeah, 720,000 or so. Instead of the debt of, if we do it that way, it can be paid off. Plus, it can be paid off in half the time, probably. So if we're done with it, say we set up a 10-year TIF, and we can pay it off in 3 years, if we don't do anything with it, then it's done. So. Are we able to figure out, between now and next week, where we're at on that schedule for the Great Plains one? And,
I think that's a question you need to ask Sue.
okay. I was thinking, yeah, I think she'd give me some. I'll do that. Let's just table this till next week.
Okay.
Because I hate to go into this other without more information.
Okay.
Is that okay with you guys to get
I'm
more
fine
information?
with that. I
on
think
the
we
Great
need that
Plains?
information, and we also need information from Julie on
Yeah,
what's available.
probably put her on the agenda with this.
And then if they can bring some printouts of that stuff, it would be really helpful. Or email it to us
I
ahead of
have
time.
asked her to do that.
I'll email her
There we
from
go.
the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, that would be great.
All right, any other on this then? Well, we didn't talk about timeline for doing this.
Yeah,
Quick
I was
look at
really interested in that timeline. Have you seen that?
Got it here somewhere.
I think,
There's certain timeline, there it is. We have to set a public hearing by July 9th,
what is it?
hold the public hearing August 6th, hold a public hearing and resolution by bond council on August 20th. And ratings call we'd have to have the week of August 19th, if we're gonna do it that route. But even if we do a small portion of it, we're still gonna have to do all that work for that small portion.
Uh-huh.
So it had to be done by December 1 was the,
Yeah, everything's gotta be done before December. Bond closing would be October 9th. After all those proceedings, bond sales.
There's a reason after we tipped last time, that I told Terry that we were never tipping again. So just remember that.
Yes.
It's terrible.
because of the work involved?
A lot of work.
And there is expense to it
Yeah,
as well.
it's expensive and it's a lot of work. Especially the,
But it's dollars amount that's nothing to sneeze at either.
oh, I know, but the
I never-
rating part, that's a lot of work.
I think in general, we didn't do enough celebrating about all the work we got done.
Yeah,
Like right when I started, all the work the guys did. Really.
That's a lot of work too.
It was, but, I mean, that's what you wanna be doing. That's what our office is for.
Yeah,
But you're right,
It
every
does.
time there needs to be a celebration for a success like that, it's always like you're just ready to just go to the next step
Right.
and never have that little pat on the back for people
Sure.
who've done the work.
You hear,
I
I
get
mean,
that.
you'll hear comments like, you know, we have these wind turbines and what have they done for us? Well, you know, 14, 15 years ago, they put $25 million into our infrastructure, so.
Yeah.
That got a little bit too easy to forget it.
now we're looking at the same roads we did 20 years ago. We have to, do some maintenance on.
Yeah.
And there's another wind farm that is proposed.
Yeah, I see that too. It's growing all the time. Their easements. Round enough.
But
we have people in our office, we've had people in our office for 6 months looking at easements, so.
There is interest out there. Well, if there's nothing else on that, we stand adjourned. So you heading to Colorado then?